Hello friends, and welcome to your week 2 video. We're going to keep this one nice and simple and talk a little bit about structuring your daily practice routine. So last week you got a taste of all the little stretches, and generally the thought is that the first step of your warm-up exercise, workout, practice process should be bringing your body to the work. You may know some other things about yourself, like for example, if you've ever been in physical therapy, or for my MT majors who take tons of dance classes, you might be really aware of some of the things in your body and some stretches that you've been asked to do in the past. And so by no means is what I offered you last week the only set of things that you should be doing. If you know other things about your own body and how it functions, by all means, you should be mixing those things into your day. The really important part, like I had talked about last week, is that, we don't have to think as hard about how we're moving through space if you're just eating a main bowl or going to calculus class. But again, when we're talking about really efficient functioning, it's so important to make sure that your body and brain are on the same page. Really, that's what we're looking at together. How do we get the most out of your creative ideas in a way that costs you the least? People who have really demanding performance schedules will tell you it just really takes a toll. If you think about Broadway performers who do 8 shows a week, or people on cruise ships who are singing and dancing all day long, teachers who talk all day long and then go to like a choral rehearsal or conduct a church choir, or are singing opera on the side. It's very exhausting on a body to try and keep up with all of that. So looking for efficiency is one of the biggest things that we can do together to make sure that as little stands in the way of your art as possible. So other than your physical exercises, I want to talk a tiny bit about the difference between warm-ups and exercises vocally. So what I gave you last week are a bunch of physical warm-ups or gentle stretches that kind of like introduce some movement to the body. And I want you to think of vocal warm-ups in a very similar way. Like if you play the trumpet, you have to take it out of the case, put the mouthpiece in the trumpet, blow a little bit of air through the horn to make sure that it's warm, press the valves to make sure that they're moving fluidly and don't need any valve oil. I'm being very specific now because I used to play the trumpet and I understand it and it's a helpful analogy. So before you go right to like belting your face off or singing your hardest aria, it's really, really, really important to do a little bit of warming up. Because you sing all day, all the time, you probably don't need to warm up tons and tons and tons, except maybe on a Monday morning if you haven't sung at all over the weekend. You are generally in really good shape and pretty warm most of the time because you just don't get that much time to rest. But the reason why a warm-up is so important is it kind of gives you a baseline of how your voice is doing on that particular day. Our instruments are inside of our bodies, and so they're affected by everything that affects our bodies, which includes hydration, the food we eat, our stress levels, how well we've slept or not slept, hormones, and even our thoughts, as we'll get to more and more. But voices change every day because humans change every day. It's kind of the beauty and the curse of what we do. And so by having a kind of standard set of warm-ups, you give yourself a chance to see, ooh, this all feels really good today, or ooh, I feel like my low voice isn't really kicking in, or ooh, my high voice this seems a little uncoordinated. And that can help you decide, like, oh, if my high voice is kind of like tired, maybe I'm not going to do my high agility piece today. Maybe I'm just going to stick to something that's a little bit more legato or something that stays in my middle voice. Or you can make informed choices about not trying to force yourself to do things that your body is telling you like it really doesn't want to do that day. So if you've been studying with me for a while, I usually start our lessons with because it's really gentle and it's super efficient. It's just like pure resonance, that sound of NG. So that's a warm up. Of course, because I can't resist doing two things at once, if you're really paying attention, you can be tracking resonance as you go, but we'll save that for another time. But really a gentle hum, some sighs, some oohs, really focusing on the middle of your voice. You don't want to warm up right into your high voice. It takes some time to get everything coordinated and moving. So really good ideas are and hum. Kazoo exercises, which new people will talk about in a second, they fall into a category called semi-occluded vocal tract exercises, or SOVTs. So anything where you're sort of making sound and blowing air at the same time, woo, or zzz, or voo, or literally blowing through a straw and humming at the same time. What's happening there is we're blowing a ton of air through the instrument, but only a small amount of it gets to escape. Your vocal tract is semi-occluded. It's kind of blocked a little bit. And there are all sorts of fancy reasons for that, which we'll talk about later. But anything that gets you to move your breath and help you think about how that's going, we'll give you tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of ideas on this when we get to breathing week. But in general, you can do voiced and unvoiced consonants. S, z, f, v, v, kind of alternating them, or you can do like s, or, holding out the consonant as long as you can or as long as you want, just to kind of check in with how your body is working that day and how things are feeling. Exercises are targeted to help you address a specific facet of vocal technique. And you're going to hear these 5 things 1,000 times this semester: breathing, phonation, which is how we make sound, registration, how do the different registers talk to each other? Are they smooth? Are they connected? Are they disconnected? Articulation, how do we pronounce? Where does diction belong? What are the muscles that we're using? And resonance, which I alluded to a second ago. So if you're doing something in the practice room and you don't know if it addresses one of those things, it's probably a warm-up. My job is to give you really specific exercises to help you grow in your technical understanding. If there's something that, we really could work on, breathing mechanics and making longer phrases and making this all a little bit more efficient and coordinated, blah, 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 blah. Some of us are going to be working on registration issues, and all of us are going to be sequencing through these different components numerous times throughout the semester. And so you don't have to learn it all at once. You don't have to be doing an exercise for every single facet of your voice every single time that you practice, especially right now. Maybe when we get toward the end of the semester and you have sort of an array of skills that you've been developing, maybe then we'll talk about settling into a groove and what are sort of your most efficient exercises that you can do to kind of really get you on track. For me personally, because I've been practicing for a long time, I usually start with and then I do a very blowy ooh, like through my kazoo, my personal kazoo. And sometimes some arpeggios. I do ba. Some of you who know ba, and whatever. We'll talk more about these. Don't panic if you're like, what are they talking about? And then I go right to my favorite exercise, the one that works the best for me personally, which is the lip trill and the pinch. And then I do that in like 5 different configurations, and that kind of sets my voice up for how I want it to work. I have a really good sense of what's going well that day and can have kind of some reasonable expectations of what might come out of my mouth when I work on my repertoire. So this is a very quick and dirty outline: physical warm-ups, move your body, stretch your body, welcome your body to your practice. Vocal warm-ups, hum a little bit, do something gentle, stay kind of in the middle, see what's going on. Targeted exercises, what are you working on the most and what have we talked about together that will actually help you make progress and learn there? And then working on your repertoire. So I know when we're crunched for time, we feel like, well, I have to just go through my song like 5 times and then go to class. And what I want to tell you is if you are strapped for time and you only have a few minutes, if you only have your 15 minutes that you blocked out last week, the most important thing you can do is to do your exercises because they're actually training you and coordinating different facets of your voice so that when you do sing your repertoire, it will already be working more of the way you want it to. So I'm also going to toss in this week the little handout that I made for you about how to learn your songs. So I hope that this is helpful as you're getting started with your repertoire and building your fantastic practicing habits. See you soon.